thank you, everyone. Let's turn to our second discussion this morning and looking at the security situation in the country across board, not just in terms of military, defense, and intelligence, but even economic security, social security, and all other kinds of security. Perhaps there's no better time to initiate this conversation than now. I'm joined by Global Television's political and security analyst, Professor Ibrahim Abubakar, to help us date one block on top of the other. Prof, Happy New Year to you, first of all.
Happy New Year.
All right, let's begin by from the security standpoint. I mean, you're passionate about this kind of conversations, but let's move away from Boko Haram, ISWAP, Lukarawa, or the bandits, as we generically call them around here, and talk about other kinds of security. For example, in 2023, just a few months after coming to office, President Bola Tinubu had declared state of emergency on food security. In whatever sense of security, but generally national security in this country, how are we doing today?
Well, we are far behind time. Far behind time because there are specific areas of specialization we are supposed to train our people on. But fortunately or so, we have not really taken cognizance of those areas and bring out the process of training people and retraining them on these areas. Let's start with citizen and human rights security, which encompasses educational security, food security, and under food security there is a section of it that covers the farmer security. Well, when people talk of food security, we don't really look at the farmer security. How did you secure the farmers? If you want bombard harvest at the end of the day, you only, that is food security. But what have you done about the farmer? Because there is, when people talk of food security, I look at them most of the time when they discuss food security, when they don't bring it out and said farmer security. So nobody is talking about the farmer security. What does the farmer face every day? What is his own problem? How did you secure the farmer? So we have a lot of elementary things that we are not discussing. Then you come to educational security. Our institutions, they're just like I used to say, from 1972 to 1987, 5 Nigerian universities were among the best 25 universities in the world. Today, no Nigerian university is among the best 1,000 or 1,005. So what has happened? It is because we don't have educational security and we don't have personnel who are monitoring this sector. So when you go down to understand what we are doing, we'll find out that even under the first chapter of security, which is citizen and human rights security, we have failed totally because no personnel has been trained on that. So today we have vices in various institutions in the country because of lack of educational security. Then before you now come to medical and health security, remember even the king of Saudi Arabia has come to medical tourism in Nigeria in the 70s and early 80s. In ABU Teaching Hospital and University of Ibadan Teaching Hospital. But today, we are the ones going to Saudi Arabia for medical tourism, going to Dubai, going to countries like Egypt. So what happened is because our security agencies are not also trained on health and medical security. So when you want to go, you go on and on. What are the indices in the medical profession that we are not trained on? What is the security evaluation on health and medical security? So direct link. All this orthodox movement from Nigeria to seek professionalism or practice outside this country by our medical personnel wouldn't have taken place at all. But lack of security has made them to start taking a fiat because we did not build up. Instead, we have even come down, reducing every day to the lowest level because the security service sector has not been trained on health and medical security. And these are the basis of life. Then you come back to transportation security. Let's look at the road transport in Nigeria. Come back to rail. Come back to air transport. Come back to what we call the inland waterways. Before now, you can take a boat from Baro down to Lokoja, going to Ida, down straight to Onitsha.
It's all the way from Kogi State to Anambra State.
From Niger State
to Anambra State.
To Anambra. Down to Patani in Delta. Now nobody can do that. So why? It is because of the same transportation security. Go to the airport today, book your ticket. The ticket you have bought about 1 month ago, you can get to the airport today and the ticketing officers will tell you cannot fly. The reason is we have closed our counter, and in your presence they are selling tickets to other people because there is no security and no value given to that sector. How many deaths? I'm just coming in now, and there was an accident on the way. The response time to that accident venue was a shock to me, because this is something happening within the city, not just within the city, in the center of the city. So suppose it was outside the city, what would have been the response time? So the under citizen and human rights security alone, we have a lot of chapters that are supposed to be opened, and personnel is trained on these special areas to make sure we get the best out of the people. But you won't blame the personnel, and you won't blame anybody. You blame the administrators and the managers, because you can't give what you don't have.
Right.
So what has already beclouded us is because we cannot actually give what we don't have, and we are not ready to bring in professionals who will explore these areas and build a uniformed security process.
Interesting. But let's digress a little. Let's talk about food, because I remember an academic saying some years ago that any country that is making progress, any country that is developing, recording measurable, significant, concrete growth, one of the clear indicators is that country has been able to conquer hunger to a very large extent. Like I mentioned at the top of this conversation, the president in 2023 had declared a state of emergency on food security. You talked about how that it is vital we secure even farmers, particularly in rural areas, if you want to see bountiful harvest at the end of the day. If we declare state of emergency as a country, or even in any other country for that matter, what should be our action points going forward, ideally? We are almost saying the same thing, but the truth remains that if we are talking of food security, we must have an interest of food security. If you say you want to
to secure food, for example, without securing the farmers, then you secure nothing. It's the farmer that goes to the farm.
Right.
It's the farmer that knows the kind of soil he needs for certain crops to grow. It's the farmer that dictates the land form and the land use system where he needed it. And there is different ways of farming. So if I'm not secured, how am I going to how will the food be secured? So we have to look into food security is a very wide area, but we also look at the farmer security.
Right.
So if the farmer security is not there, then you shouldn't expect that you are going to secure food. So the first thing first. But because we are not trained on these systems, what we do here is just calling a name that people don't know of or they are not trained of. If you want to go on food security alone and goes into the training of food security, it is another long journey of its own. It's a complete book of its own, let me just put it that way. So you must bring in under that session farmer security, land security, marketing, area view, projections, equipment security. Then we talk of the food itself, because you must secure all this before you start talking of food. So you cannot just jump into, we are discussing food security when you have not discussed about the farmer, the equipment and food. Are they secure? Yes, are they secure? The land, are they secure? So you must build a template that makes all these things make it very comfortable for these people to produce what you want them to produce.
Now let's talk about another very critical area of security, Prof. The pipeline, for example. Of course, we understand Tantita, a private security company, has been formally saddled with that responsibility. The federal government has a contract with a company to secure pipelines, or pipelines, that is. And then we also have the Navy, a combination of the military doing their parts and all of that. Yet, in the face of this, in 2023, Nuhu Ribadu, the National Security Advisor, told Nigerians that the country at that time was losing, give or take, 400,000 barrels of crude every day. Are we saying all of these efforts, as I mentioned a minute ago, are going to waste?
Sometimes I smile when people talk of the oil industry, because a Nigerian designed the automatic gas terminus chamber in Iraq and makes that installation to happen. Up to this moment that we are speaking, before the Operation Desert Storm and the Gulf War, there is no oil spillage in Iraq. There is no record of oil spillage in Iraq.
But is there oil theft in Iraq?
No. You can't steal when there is no spillage. What the federal government has refused to do is to deploy a system that will make this totally to rebound. I will not want to give statistics of what has happened. Every time we goes back from the 70s, it is like you have only one borehole in 1970. Today you have 1,000 boreholes in 2025. And you are still telling the people that you are producing only 5,000 gallons of water. Is that visible? In 1970 you have just one borehole.
So that was more than 50 years ago.
Yeah, and you have one borehole and it was producing 5,000 gallons of water. Today in 2025, you have 1,000 boreholes and you are still producing 5,000 gallons of water. Is that feasible? So that is what we have found in the oil sector. There are so many mechanisms that we are supposed to follow. I don't want to be critical today, but let me put it this way. We either go to 2,300 barrels per day and come back to 1,000 something barrels per day. We are open to oil theft. We are not ready to employ any idea, technologically or so, just as I said, a Nigerian design, develop and install the automatic gas terminus chambers. The same Nigeria has done 139 presentations to MNPC and the joint venture companies, and nothing has happened. All they do is to clap hand and walk away. So if we want to go, how many of them who are group MDs or group CEOs or group executive directors or group general managers will tell me where these oil wells are located, both onshore and offshore? They will not be able to tell you which ones has been written off. And when you have written off an oil well, why did you not discouple it? Why is the wellhead still there? Nobody is asking all this question. Why are the train lines still there? Why are the truck lines still there? Nobody is asking these questions. Are they productive or still not productive? Nobody have you.
It's not necessary to ask questions, but answers are not being provided.
Whether you ask, that is the question. If you ask and you have no answers are not provided, means that your question was not a question.
Was that your fault that you ask questions to the authorities and nobody gives you an answer?
No, they don't even ask questions to the authorities. No. If you are asking questions to the authority, it is open questions. When have we ever audited our oil wells?
That question is for the NNPC authorities.
Yes, have we ever? No. The answer is no, we have never audited our oil wells. How do we run the security of the pipelines? No way. I can't employ the services of Tatita. No, I won't. Because what is your scale of reference? What is your designs? And what is your modalities? What is your methodologist? What is your mode of operations? I don't think they have the willpower and they have the enablement or they have the professionalism to do what they are doing. To me, it's an exploitation. If we want to really work on this system of oil and gas protection, it is something that can be done. I am telling you, no dot of oil will be removed from this country.
But how about people who talk about the influence of the IOCs, the international oil companies, and how they are able to
I'm coming.
Yes.
Let me digress a little. From some tool lines, I will not call the tool lines, from all the tool lines to there is underground fiber pipelines that has 37 crude line systems out of this country, where the multinationals exploit this oil, take this oil away without anybody interact or intervening.
Is that legal?
It is illegal, but what do you subject somebody to what you don't know of? is the federal government aware? We have security personnel that can walk in here now and set an arrest. When the proper thing they are supposed to do on national security templates, they can't do it. We have a lot of challenges that I tell everybody to listen that if proper security is being put in place in this country, security can generate their own revenue to the extent of about 150 trillion naira. So if security alone can generate 150 trillion naira
per annum,
yes, why are we giving ourselves headache? We are giving ourselves headache because we don't know what to do. All this running around, misgivings and the rest is just because we don't know what to do. Nothing more. If we bring and engage professionals who know what to do, we are not supposed to be crying. Oil is supposed to be a third arm of our system. Security first as priority. Services as the second chapter. Then oil and gas coming as a third. So we now our reliance on oil has deep and widened our mental system. So to me, we are supposed to look properly into what are we supposed to give that we are not given.
All right, let's talk about the elephant in the room, as some people will call it, the Lakurawa group, whether we're going to call them bandits or terrorists. We are not so sure of that, but I guess nomenclature isn't as important as the very dastardly acts carried out by these same people. Let's leave Turji Bello for a second and talk about this Lakurawa group, which has now become more like a source of bad blood between Nigeria and its neighbor, Niger Republic, for example. Help us understand these criminal elements.
When you say Lakurawa bringing bad blood between Niger Republic and Nigeria, sometimes look at our security process and our intelligent gathering mechanisms as not doing anything. Because if you want to trace the Lakurawa, they came from Senegal into Mali and now bounced back to Niger, to Nigeria. It was not something that spring up from Niger and coming into Nigeria. All these traces from Senegal to Mali down to Niger and Nigeria, what has our security intelligence group done? The intelligence unit who have know how these people are moving and in which direction they are going into. Because when in one place they move and walk into it, we should also follow the movement, engage in them till we succeed in what we are doing. But we don't take back what has happened some years ago. How did Metasine came into being in the late 70s to early 80s? If the security organs we have are the ones that dig deep and have a wider intelligence network, we will not have things like Lakurawa here. That is just the truth. But we are not digging deep and we are not really working intensively, forgetting that we have gotten these informations and intrusions over the past Even in the military regimes till the present regimes. If you asked today what brought about the Nigerian Civil War, a lot of people will just tell you it was a Biafra Nigeria affair. What was the foreign intrusion that triggered it up, and what was their purpose? Well, what are they supposed to gain? No military or defense intelligence or one of the intelligence bodies in Nigeria will be able to give you an answer. So we don't employ intelligence the way it's supposed to be employed and deploy it to various areas. So sometimes you can't really blame, whether you have to blame the National Intelligence Agency, you have to blame the State Security Service, or you have to blame the police, or you blame the Defense Intelligence. You don't know who to blame. And you don't blame people who don't know their environment. You should only blame somebody when this person knows his environment. And I said, why did you know this well? Yeah, why did you enter the well?
We're going to take a quick break now, just a short break to anyone else catch our breath for a second, and we're back shortly to continue the rest of this conversation. Do stay with us, everyone. So I was asking that question because, as it stands today, there's a strain in Nigeria's diplomatic relations with Niger Republic, as you apparently are aware of. And one of the things they're saying is that Nigeria is leveraging this Lakurawa group, in collaboration with France, to destabilize that country. Of course, we have Abdurrahman Chani, the leader of the head of the military government in Niger Republic, to thank for that. But that also has a blowback, security-wise, for Nigeria. Walk our viewers through what exactly the implications are.
Well, we as Nigerians invite so many things into ourselves. We don't look at the security implications of some of these our lapses. We shouldn't blame our inadequacies and inefficiencies on another person. We should take responsibilities sometimes. And just like I used to tell people, when anything happens in Nigeria, it is either God or Satan. Nobody wants to take responsibility. The moment we start taking responsibilities and view our inadequacies, our inefficiencies, our ineffectiveness, then we are going to go more to gradually grow and build a template for ourselves. But right now, we are not building templates on ourselves. This is a system where somebody will come today and say, please, I am the head and I take the decisions here. I cut the shot. Whereas somebody who is lower has more better ideas to bring to the table that will give you the growth template and development you want. I want to give an example here. My friend was a managing director of a bank when the banks were trying to merge together or build their own empire and the rest, and they were walking from one trail to the other,
talking to people who they feel has the money to invest into the banking system. And I was in his office and he told me, this is what we are going through. I said, but you have the leverage and you have the way out to get this money without going to consult with chief this, minister this, governor this, to build the finances. They say, how? I say, gather all your staff and tell them, you bring, if you have an investment that comes in, you become somebody else. And that was what was actually happening. He applied it, including the Securicom companies. When I say Securicom, means you engage security companies to guide your premises. And he engaged the staffs. I said, engage anybody, cleaners. Do you know the first staff to bring 50 million naira to that bank was just a security guard? Today, that security guard has empowered himself. He's a general manager of the bank. So you can't keep to yourself and stand in one place and now say, no, this is what I want it to be, but this is how I want to apply it. Security is a business of everybody. It is not a personal business. It's not a business of aggrandizement where you say, I know it. So if you are trained as a manager, remain a manager. If you are an administrator, you are an administrator. If you are an operations, you are engaged in operation services. So we train people on specialized areas. So when you train people on specialized areas, it makes the job very easy to you because you know who to call at a given time.
Right.
Yeah, the time and space of work, it is very, very tiny. So we derive joys in carrying arms to show that we are security personnel. So if you don't carry arms, then you are not a security personnel. And it is not supposed to be so, because you are supposed to be a trailblazer. At the same time, you can also become a nobody. You can display madness where it is required for you to display madness, as far as you get what it is. And most of the intelligent aura I have here is, you see that they use the influence of cloning propaganda on us in Nigeria, and we are quick to bring our lapses out by getting provoked. Provocation is a part of security information system, where I get you provoked to get information. So we should know what is. That is why we have another portion of security that says the security and the press. So I get you provoked, and I get all the informations I want because of your reactions or the way you react to it. So the moment we know what security is all about, because security almost comprises everything in your life. Everything. Almost everything of your life. But we are looking at security from a different angle. That is why I said the colonial master only came here, and what did they give to us? I call them the imperialists, giving us a training on protective security without telling us what we are supposed to protect. They did not teach us what we are protecting. We're in this studio here, but I can also tell you that the security man don't know what is in this studio. Some don't even know there is a studio here. So what is, but if anything missing here now, they are held responsible.
I want to take your, draw your attention to something, maybe take you back a little. The former chief of army staff in this country once stood in front of national legislators to address them on the state of insecurity in Nigeria. And one of the things he said there, which became a talking point across this country, was that it would take, by his own estimates, I don't know what indices he was looking at the time, 20 years, he said, to fight off insurgency. I mean, like I said, you are not privy to what the indicators are for him, but do you see any sense in that, given our reality?
When I was much stronger, let me use the word stronger now, I challenged the government to say, let them give me just 1 year. If I don't deliver, they should tie me to the stake and execute me. If I don't bring the security situation to 95 to 99% minimum, I challenge them to that. Now I'm not as strong as that. So, but I can tell you, the security situation can be reduced to the barest minimum within 1 year. I give it to the security situation we have in Nigeria. To me, it's not a very big challenge.
That 20-year theory is invalid to you.
It means that he don't even know what he's doing. Anything that cannot be, what the situation we have in this country, whether banditries, insurgency, whatever, can be contained fully in 2 years. Fully in 2 years. These people are not masks, they are not spirits. They are not people practicing voodoo. They are human like me. They are not UFO. They are not unidentified flying objects. So there is nothing anybody is going to tell me that you cannot contain it within maximum of 2 years.
But this is the interesting profile, and I'll tell you why it is. We had former President Jonathan, who did 5 years cumulative, inclusive of his 1 year as acting president and 4 years as elected president. Former President Muhammadu Buhari came, did another 8 years, making 13. President Bola Tinubu has already started his second year. Of course, his second year will cycle out by May, which is in 4 months' time, for example. Are we saying all of these presidents and all of the military architecture they had in place, including the service chiefs, for example, didn't know something all through this time that you know, for instance?
If you go to the military, they are going to tell you defense and military security. Defense and military security is just about 3 to 5% of security itself. The defense and military security is a security system that compasses the defense mechanisms and military administration apparatus within a given area. They have no training on human tracking, human analogy, human psychology. They don't have that kind of training. That is the aspect why the police dominates, because the police are closer to the people than the military. But here, the police itself are also lacking in some areas of adequate training on securities. So if the police are not lacking on this special and have not been able to build specialized areas for their staffs or for their personnel, it would have been better managed. In so many countries, it is difficult for you to see a military man on uniform, unless they are what we have here, the Army Remembrance Day, where they have to come out. But yeah, you see them almost everywhere. So you can't equate defense and military intelligence with what we call national intelligence service, or you call it the national security program. So when you are talking of the national security program, you don't bring defense and military intelligence.
I'm afraid, Prof, this is the much time will allow us to take on this conversation. It's getting more interesting. Of course, your depth of knowledge about these conversations cannot be denied. We'd like to appreciate you for coming to share with us. I will be talking about national security concerns with Professor Ibrahim Abubakar, who is Global Television's security and economic analyst. It's a new year. There's no better time to put these conversations in front of you. And as the year unfolds, we'll continue to track developments and changes for you as well. Just a quick reminder that the views of our guests are their opinions. You've been watching Global Morning with Uyag Mofogwe. On behalf of the entire team here in Abuja, Nigeria's capital, we say we're grateful for your time. And once again, Happy New Year. Welcome to Global Morning.
Death toll from flooding.
Most time our politicians just bring in policies too, for sure.
If you don't say we have several more stories.
The legislature was carefully crafted to
22.2% inflation rate as of April this year. What does that say about where we are as a country?
I think Nigeria has resorted to being resilient.
When you call the police station, before they even leave, they take permission from
I don't think there's really anything on ground to improve.
the struggle with ASU strike.
Minister of Education volunteered and said, give me 2 weeks.
It was a lie. The president never gave me any deadline.